One thing a lot of people have been wondering over the last few weeks of the Neil Gaiman controversy is why has his ex-wife Amanda Palmer been so silent? One of the women who actually accused Neil Gaiman told the Tortoise podcast that Amanda told her that there were 13 other women with similar stories to her about Neil. So we've just scratched the tip of the iceberg. It gets kind of crazy. But Amanda Palmer might have said something kind of damning. It's very cryptic and weird, very passive-aggressive, feminine energy that we get here, of course. And it was done on her Patreon, which 20,000 members, geez. That's quite the grift right there. But this is something that we'll get into in just a moment because it's a pretty wild thing. You got to connect some dots here. So, it's something that there's culpable deniability, maybe, on her part. But it doesn't look good for Neil. I got to tell you that right now. My name's John Delarose, everybody. I am a #1 best-selling science fiction author. And if you like good science fiction, classic science fiction, we have Colony Launch. And this is something I just got the audiobook done. It just came out. The audiobooks are tough to produce and cost a lot to produce. So, of course, we are chugging along, just getting all of these up and done as we can. And I'm very, very proud of this one. It's a great book. If you like the old Heinlein stuff where there was a lot of space colonization, looking out to the stars, a better humanity type of thing, positive stuff, opposite of Neil Gaiman. This is great for you. In sane times, perhaps this would have won a Hugo Award, but unfortunately we don't live in sane times. So I'll just leave you to check it out because the audience is really what matters. And I appreciate you for supporting our channel, supporting our artistic efforts. You guys have been buying tons of copies of this, and I appreciate it. That link's in the description below. Thank you for being there. And please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us as we report on the news that nobody else will. Nobody else will. I mean, I get there's so many complaints out there. If you look at Blue Sky, the SJW social network, that nobody's covering the Neil Gaiman situation. It took me pressuring science fiction blogger Mike Glyer for like a month to get him to post about it on File 770, but they largely ignored it. And all these people are trying to cope with the fact that Neil Gaiman was their idol forever, and it looks like he's a creep. And, guys, come on. He's always kind of been a creep. And this is where I've been with things this entire time. I've never really changed my attitude on Neil Gaiman. I don't even think his writing's that good, to be honest. Shots fired. But he is a sacred cow of the publishing industry, the comic industry, and that's why nobody's really allowed to talk about him. Now, we've had 5 women talk about their stories about how they believe he sexually assaulted them. And some of them are creepier than others. I'd say the creepiest couple are his employees, who are one a nanny who went into a tub with him, and after hours of meeting him, was supposed to watch his kid, and she claims he degraded her and all that against her will. And the second is a woman who lived on his grounds in New York, the wife of a landscape guy who she said once her husband left that Neil made her perform acts for him in order to stay in the house. So he was basically giving her a little tit for tat thing as a landlord, very illegal and if so in New York. Now both these women apparently signed NDAs about the subject, which is really weird too. And Amanda Palmer and Neil Gaiman have been completely silent. Neil Gaiman has said zero at all since this has come out. He canceled a public appearance. Amanda Palmer said nothing. But her Patreon maybe gave a little bit of a clue to what's going on here, which is some interesting stuff. Now, this is her Patreon post. I don't know how Patreon does things. They don't like it when you show unlocked stuff, so I didn't bother subscribing. I'm going to show you a Reddit post that summarizes what she posted, so we don't have any copyright issues or things like that. But she posted a bunch of random life updates, the typical woman blog. It's been a hard couple of weeks, and it's called The Past Few Weeks. And it was littered with a collage of photos and posting songs and things like that. It started with this. This is a song. It's by a group called The Frames. And the lyrics of this are very, very sad and emo. I'm not sad. I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And that could be a reference to the whole Neil Gaiman situation. I mean, this is probably the biggest thing happening in these people's lives right now. But we don't know. And it kind of begs the question, like, what is she disappointed about? If she knew this kind of thing was happening, if she had this open marriage situation and she knew that there were 14 women who had like creepy stories involving him, why is she disappointed now? Is she just disappointed that it came out, that it's known about, that it mires their legacies? I mean, because Mr. Feminist Ally and Miss Hyper Feminist here, seem to have grifted off of this entire left-wing movement this entire time. I mean, that's really what happened here. It's really crazy. There's more to it, but I also came across this post here on Blue Sky before we get into the craziest part of all this, by someone named Ulorin Vex here, who's a she-they artist with some interesting hair choices here. But this person said, didn't imagine this would be what brought me back to Blue Sky, but it seems to be here that people are actually talking about the Neil Gaiman allegations, and I have some things to say. Yeah, nobody's talking about it anywhere. I've been hesitant to comment because Neil is in my wider social circle. There are people dear to me who are close to him and are directly impacted by all of this, but after weeks of lurking and getting mad at the victim blamers, I feel the need to add my voice in support to these women. Around 2010, my ex told me that Neil Gaiman had asked if he knew any young women he could send to keep him company. So unpack this real quick. Again, she's claiming her ex was friendly with Neil Gaiman, and Neil Gaiman wanted young women to keep him company in 2010. Now, this would have been around when he's about, he's 63 now, and so he would have been 42 at the time. This is the time when he allegedly, assaulted that young fan who was like 19 up in his hotel room after a signing. And so he wanted young women to keep him company. Very obsessed with youth and very, very obsessed with that kind of thing in general. Very, very odd, as it usually is. And this is where it might get to be kind of a strange smoking gun, because all the instances we've seen so far are him skirting the line of legality with youth. From when he's 40-something to when he's 60-something. He was really into getting them as close to that barely legal as possible. That's some creepy stuff. So the question that starts to be begged is, how young did it go? And that's the stuff that we're might come out soon. We'll see. But this lady attached screenshots from a couple years ago, just show that it's not from right now. And she said, I understand you don't want to say, but is straight white elder goth fave Neil Gaiman? I clarify because I remembered something recently my ex told me about him. It was totally creepy, but I brushed it off 12 years ago because I was naive and starstruck. And this is the trend I keep seeing with Neil, naive and starstruck. He gets these young girls who are super fans of his. They want to be close to the rock star guy, and he builds that brand intentionally to do this. There's a big old pile of credible allegations against Neil Gaiman. This is back from 2022. It's one of the worst kept secrets in the entertainment biz. Wow. I was naive and starstruck myself till more recently. Was it AA who told you? Imagine N's creep factor becomes more obvious when he's around other predatory men. I don't know who AA is. Yes, I knew it. He apparently asked A to send him a young woman of A's choosing to, quote, keep him company. Send him a woman. While working in a remote place. And this is where it gets really creepy. With the stipulation they, quote, be interesting, but not so interesting that I would fall in love with them. So he wanted some basically prostitutes that he could hook up with, but discard. What a creep. What a gross guy. And, these women who fall for this stuff, come on, be smarter. I mean, my God. It drives me crazy on both ends of this. It was so odd and creepy, like he was literally asking A to pimp his young women friends. Yep, that tracks. So she says the glee with which A told me about this request was also gross, like he hoped to have that kind of influence one day. So they're too high on their own supply, have been for decades. It's so bad. Neil in particular is so beloved. I feel weird even telling people, like my most supportive friends would be the person they decide to turn a blind eye to. And that's the thing. When these women come out like this, they would actually get in trouble. They'd get killed by their peers, basically, for just even saying stuff about this. But she says there's a pattern of behavior about this that goes back to the 90s. Absolutely crazy stuff on here. Now, when it gets to the Amanda Palmer thing, they're talking about the Patreon post. This person says he can't read her latest post either. Judging from the headline, some comments on Insta, I wonder if she broke her silence to address what happened, Neil Gaiman. Has anyone read it can provide some insight? And so there's a few things that were said on here. And here's one that somebody actually got the Patreon post, which gets interesting. The Patreon post is mostly pictures. Some of them look like they're from an art museum. There's a beach and some stained glass windows, mostly slice of life stuff. The words are just that she loves this fans. If you're interested in cryptic allusions, there's two. The one that she's opening to the song, which we talked about, not mad, just disappointed. And then the other big crazy one is a picture of a book, Lolita, sitting on a trash can in a street corner. Now, if you're familiar with Lolita, it's a very disturbing book about this man who's like grooming this young girl. It's a literary crazy thing, and hailed as a classic because it is so disturbing. Like, it's emotionally disturbing. It's difficult to read. And if this is an allusion to Neil Gaiman, this can of worms gets way, way worse, because this means there's you know, the Lolita factor involved, and not just young women, but very young women. Very crazy stuff here. So we'll see if this tracks, and we'll see if something comes forward from this. But if Amanda Palmer knows something about this, I honestly, she's Amanda. Like, be better. You're kind of obligated to speak out if you know something about this. Like, it's crazy. Now, people are speculating because the two women involved, the nanny and the other one, are bound by NDAs not to talk about it. Maybe. And what's happened here is the divorce with Amanda Palmer. Neil loves to play the little lawfare thing. Maybe she's got an NDA too, that she's not allowed to talk about any of this stuff. And so she's has to be quiet. Now, what's interesting is the Dresden Dolls have a new song coming out pretty soon called Mr. God. And it looks like it also has allusions possibly to Neil Gaiman in here. You're talking shop. You can make up the blank like no one else. You shout all your accomplishments beside me. That's interesting stuff. How'd you do this to us? Effing unreal. Two lips, I'll just deal. All those red flags. Go, honey, put your telltale heart right here. I've got a floorboard for you. I got a bridge to sell you. I've got it all in writing. It says you'll never tell. Maybe that's a reference to her having an NDA. I don't know. Breakfast of Tiffany's, a litany of losers. Maybe this refers to the other women. Just says the blank, you'd rather just bang and burn than get discovered by all the people in your head that have been dead for a millennia. This is maybe a reference to Neil Gaiman and the fact that he uses a lot of mythological references from a long time ago. It's crazy. And he loves me not, but now it doesn't matter. This is interesting. Now you leave me here with Sophie's Choice. You took a razor to my vocal cords, maybe she's being silenced. Again, an NDA reference, perhaps. And I ran and I shook. You may have left me with nothing, but I've worked with less, and you can quote me as I sing my way out of this effing mess. Interesting stuff right here to see. And given the circumstances, it looks pretty damning. But it's all pretty cryptic too. We'll just have to wait for more to come out. What do you think about this? Do you think these are references to Neil Gaiman? Leave a comment and let us know. Hit the like and subscribe button, my friends, and please make sure to check out Colony Launch, our great science fiction book. We have it on audio for you. It's a brand new audio right about now, and I appreciate you guys for reading. We'll be back soon.